My name is Kat Rishu, and I've been involved with CISV since 2005.
Children's International Summer Village.
CISV is important because it really bridges the gaps that exist just due to geography and lifestyle and language barriers. And it bridges those gaps in people of all ages. It starts with the little ones at age 11, but then there's programs just for adults. People like me get to go away as leaders. And it just makes the world a much smaller place, and you have friends all over the world.
Because I wanted them to see the outside world and see that there were things other than Cochrane in Canada and people who lived in different ways and meet kids from other countries.
So where did you go last summer?
To Sweden?
Norway.
Who started CISV?
Doris Allen. She thought that in order to promote peace, it would be a good idea for to get the children together, because then if you have friends in other countries, you're less likely to drop bombs on them.
Because you're a lot more likely to have empathy with people from other cultures than people that don't look and act and think the same way as you, if you get a chance to spend time with them in a positive setting.
The kids are like the future, they're the next generation, so when they take over, if their friendship is more spread out over the world, then they're less likely to get in conflict with them.
Every camp has specific program goals. So if it's a camp for 11-year-olds, it's a lot more about, sharing bits of your own culture or learning about other people's culture. But then as the participants get older and older, there's more focus on the leadership development, taking an active role in the community, giving your perspective, sharing specific information about your country. There's 4 main educational content areas. They talk about sustainable development, they talk about conflict and resolution.
Human rights is a thing.
Human rights, thank you. And there's one more that I might need to Google.
Did you have preconceptions about people from certain countries from what things you'd heard in the news and that? No?
There's the stereotypes, of course.
What are some stereotypes?
Silly, dumb, fat Americans, the Europeans are all in shape, that kind of stuff.
What about guys from the Middle East?
You kind of think of them as crazy extremists,
right.
But really they're just, I don't know, the people that were on CISV were pretty level-headed. It just kind of shows you that everyone's alike.
It changed how I thought of other countries, because in Canada there were a lot of times when people would judge other countries and they would say things about them, but when I would over meet the delegations, then it was the exact opposite. It sort of made me more open and social, to be able to talk to people.
Okay.
Because before I was a little bit shy, but now I'm not. And it also changed my view of the countries.
We had a thing where we went and we did a percussion workshop with a whole bunch of the grade 3 and 4s maybe. A lot of the other kids in my high school were what do we do now? There's a whole bunch of kids running around with their head chickens with their head cut off. How do we work this? And right. I kind of took charge and figured out what to do and got them engaged, and I think that's a result of mini camp and running activities and stuff.
Tell me about Rich Day, Poor Day at camp.
That was just wrong. At the beginning of the day, they were labeled rich people, and then the other half were poor people.
Which were you?
I was rich.
Okay.
The poor people, they had to, they actually treated the poor people like they were really poor. They had to eat a little bowl of porridge that was disgusting, and they only got a few pieces of bread, and they had to break it up and split it between them.
And could rich kids tell poor kids what to do?
Yes.
Huh.
They had to clean our rooms and do all the stuff like that.
And what did you do?
Throughout the day, especially at lunch times, I would be sneaking bread to the kids, to the poor kids, because the leaders, they say no, you can't give them any food, right. But I did anyway.
At mini camp, there was a kid there that was probably 11 or 12, and he couldn't walk, so me and another guy would carry him around during activities and run. And
so they were running activities?
Yeah, running
and he
activities,
couldn't do them.
And he couldn't do them because he was in a walker. Like he
Right.
could push himself around on a walker, but he couldn't walk by himself.
Right.
And so we would give him piggyback rides.
What was the most fun activity?
Would it either capture the flag or the
Mhm.
water fight?
They had a zip line?
Yeah, it was like there was two little posts up here, like platforms sort of, that were about 3 feet off the ground. I climbed the telephone pole, or the flagpole.
How
At
do
the
you
end of
climb
the-
the flagpole?
Take off your shoes and socks and climb the flagpole.
Bob was like this kind of, average middle school kid, kind of uncomfortable with who he was and didn't really interact with other people very much. And then at age 12, he was signed up to do an interchange with CISV. Bob just totally came out of his shell. He'd never left Canada before. And all of a sudden, Bob was on a flight flying down to Brazil to have the time of his life, was an ambassador for Canada. And so he comes back, and all of a sudden, he's this completely other person. And he's talkative, and he walks around school with his head up and his shoulders back. And as he got older, he continued to be involved in CISV. So he took an active role within the local chapter. And then this led to opportunities to meet up with people nationally. And then he started taking a more active role there. And he traveled by himself all over the world for different programs. He did a seminar camp in Egypt and then decided to travel Europe for the rest of the summer, or like 2 or 3 months. And he went to the G8 summit in Denmark and had a wonderful time and met all these people. So, this quiet, shy, sheltered little individual is now a world traveler, confident, capable. He was just elected the VP, one of the VPs of the student union. And so it's just mind blown. His world has grown increasingly larger every year with things that he does with CISV.
Are you doing any CISV activities in the future?
Yeah, this week, summer, we're going to do an interchange with a person from Costa Rica.
And how does an interchange work?
First, in the July, the kid from Costa Rica, he's going to come over to stay with us. And then in December, I'm going to go over and visit Costa Rica with their family.
I'm going on Peace Bus this summer, which is across Canada. We go spend a month in a bus with 12 other people.
It made me aware of how little I even knew. I mean, it's traveling the world and making friends, so I don't know who wouldn't be passionate about that, because it's the best thing.
It is so much fun.